warm welcome to Policy and Politics with me, Tarun Nangia. This is a measure that the government is mulling that we're going to discuss today that's being very, very closely watched by the chartered accountants community, the business community at large. You would have seen a lot of GST raids and arrests in the recent past, but the government is planning some kind of a relief for the business community, that the threshold for arrest may be increased from 2 crores to 3 crores. Now, this is a marginal increase in that sense. But we will also discuss today that is there room for more increase given that this is a $3.4 trillion economy growing to be a $5-6 trillion economy. So the numbers are really huge, but any relief is a welcome relief. And also some other suggestions on GST notices that have gone to a large number of companies in the past 2 months with amounts running into thousands of crores. All this and more. Let me introduce you to Mr. S. Ravi. He is a founder of Ravi Rajan and Company, also served as the head of the Bombay Stock Exchange. Good to see you, sir. I have with me Rakesh Nangia. He is chairman of Nangia Anderson India Private Limited. Good to see you. I have with me Anil Harish, who joins me from the city of Mumbai. He heads DM Harish and Company, a very well-known firm in the area of tax law. Good to see you again, and looking forward to some interesting insights from your end as well. At the outset, I'll go to Mr. S. Ravi for the opening comment on what has been mulled by the government. Your initial comments, and then we move to specifics.
So, first of all, thank you for inviting me. This demand has been made by the industry. There have been various forums, this fear of arrest, etc. And this demand has been, escalated to the finance ministry. Though this increase, which is contemplated before this 2 to 3 crores, is very marginal. But the fact is, the industry wants more. And the dichotomy for the government is that if they increase too much, there have been issues of fraud tax invoices, which have been really of a highest order. If you look at the numbers, it is significant. So the government is caught between helping the honest taxpayers and also eradicating those who are doing these frauds. So I think the increase is very calibrated because they want to test the waters. E-invoicing has come in. So they want to go step by step. That is the feel that I get from the government.
Okay. They want to go step by step. Thanks for the opening comment. I'll go to Rakesh Nangia, chairman of Nangia Anderson India. Good to see you, and your opening comment on this issue.
Good evening, every person. Now, I need to just add a little bit more what Mr. Ravi said it actually. When the government is contemplating increasing it from 2 crores to 3 crores, actually the government is trying to bring a favorable environment, a little bit of friendly environment, a little bit of ease of doing environment in the country. And you see all, not limited to GST law, government is decriminalizing it or working seriously to either reduce the penalties, criminal prosecution, or increase the threshold limit. But this is overboard at every law which government has been talking about it. And it is already, the process has started in a lot of laws where they want to decriminalize it. If you can't do the decriminalization, you can't do completely, you can't remove it, but at least make a little ease of doing it. So this is a step in right direction, but I feel there are caveats in it. I feel there's a little bit of impediments in implementation challenges there, which we'll discuss as we go forward. But the overall objective is a good objective. But if you ask me, asking from 2 to 3 is a smaller limit, because prosecution, arresting, closure of the business, there's a high cost you pay for that. So this threshold limit and the GST Council must consider more favorably. And this is a request from all the association also. The limit should be higher, not limited to 2 to 3 crores rupees. But there's an underlying caveats here, which I'll discuss as we go forward.
Sure. Thank you for that opening comment. I'll go to Anil Harish from DM Harish and Company.
You started with 2 different aspects. One is raising the limit from 2 crores to 3 crores of rupees. And the second is the notices of demand or the summonses that have gone to different companies, particularly in the gaming sector. Now, increasing the limit for prosecutions from 2 crores to 3 crores of rupees is in one sense good because it will reduce the burden on the courts and it will reduce perhaps to some extent the burden on the businesses. But if the nature of the offense remains the same, then even if a person has committed an offense of 2 crores, he should be still prosecuted. It's not that if you do something, if you have fake invoicing or you do something wrong beyond 3 crores, then you should be prosecuted, and below 3 crores, you should not be prosecuted. I don't agree with that. I think that one has to look at the real substance of the matter. And while this may help some assessees, some persons who are paying GST, the principle of the matter is important. So increasing from 2 crores to 3 crores in genuine cases where people are actually doing wrong things, I think is not really going to the root of the matter. So whether they increase from 2 to 3, to me, is not significant from that point of view. It's the other issue which we will talk about later, which I think is more significant.
Okay, point well taken. I'll now go to Mr. S. Ravi from Ravi Rajan and Company. Do you think that the change from 2 to 3 crores, there should be consideration of taking it up to 5 or 7, given the large number of companies in India? And here prosecution is something which is not, they're not saying we'll not prosecute. They're just saying we won't arrest, which means anyways the penalty has to be paid if there is a violation. Do you think that we have to get away from this mentality of throwing the businessmen in jail? And this is something we need to learn as we open up the economy for more investment coming in. One comment on that.
So quickly see what happens. The intent is very clear that, you have to decriminalize this whole process. It's very clear. But the process of doing it is they are taking small steps. Because of the various regulatory plus procedural issues, they are taking it slow in a very phased manner. So I personally feel that, it is important to raise the level to 5 to 7 crores because anyway, you can, impose penalty if somebody is wrong, but arresting and taking coercive actions is not desirable because there can be misuse of power also at various levels. And that is what is the concern of many people because the notices are issued at various levels. And what happens is then the whole business goes for a toss. And that is what is a concern for most people. And that's why we should increase it. It should be very clearly, the government should increase it from 3 to 5 crores, 2 to 5 crores or 7 crores. And I think we have to bring in a bit of checks and balances when they increase it. And that is what I think they should aim at.
Okay, point well taken. I'll go to Mr. Rakesh Nangia from Nangia Anderson. Even before the notice is issued to a company, sometimes there is a threat of arrest that you pay 10 crores, 15 crores, 20 crores. Otherwise, you are liable to be arrested. Because if a notice is issued, the person can go to a court and get a stay. Do you think this is the danger here, that whenever the amount so said is higher, even before the notice is issued, there is a threat of arrest or you pay up? Do you think this is the problem that the businessmen are facing?
Let me break it into one thing very relevant I want to add here. Even the 2 crore rupees threshold there, the government has taken very seriously 2 parts of it. One is the fake invoices and the false claim of input credit. You'll be surprised the limit for such offense for prosecution is 1 crore.
1 crore.
It's just 2 crores. Which government is likely to, we are asking, is likely to take to the council for 3 crores, which is in the news actually. So that is one part we need to understand. And the government intention is clear. We will not compromise where there are fake invoices and where there's a false input credit. So government message is very clear. And that is the reason where they have a lower threshold is concerned. Because there's a clear-cut, blatant misuse of the government, let's put it like that, and a false claim. So this is one part we need to be clear about it. Second, what has happened in the last year when the government did investigation and there were DGCI inquiries, investigation, they were found, like last year they found 57,000 crores of false input credit. Now see what happens there. So this means it's a serious cash flow negative to the government to that extent. So government is not likely to compromise on that part is concerned. So if we're expecting the government to reduce the burden, they will say no. But now coming to your second question, which is relevant, a threat to arrest just like that is not in an free economy is a welcome step at all. If anybody visited, you issue me a notice, you compute the figure, you believe I'm responsible to pay the taxes, you held me guilty. Yes, the assessee and the taxpayer needs to pay the taxes. No compromise on that. But if somebody visits your premises and say you need to pay it on the basis of just suspicion, because you can't compute the liability so easily, credits, debits, so many things to be done actually. So then in this case, a threat to arrest a person without adjudication, without conclusion of the proceedings, without holding it guilty, I think is not a welcome step basically. And this happened last year, like a number of cases where these threats were there. Government got these complaints, government addressed it also, and government have made it easier comparatively what was the stage before, where there was a clear-cut case of threat of arrest. Because you are holding me guilty, like Supreme Court said it, you are innocent till you are not guilty. So you don't hold me guilty, I'm innocent actually. You need to prove it. And what is the amount? Why you claim a money or ask me to pay GST on an estimated basis or ad hoc basis? So both these issues, this part of the letter issue has been addressed by the government, that they will compute the figure, they'll compute, issue your notice, then you're likely to pay the money. This has been partially addressed, let me tell you, but the input part has not been addressed, and government message is clear. They will not take it easy, fake credit, incorrect input credit and fake.
Basically, yeah, the government is only worried mainly of the fake input credit racket that is going on in the country. That is the
fake invoice and the fake invoice.
From the fake invoices. Both. Point well taken. I'll go to Mr. Anil Harish. Now we come to the point of these big notices of 10,000 crores, 15,000 crores. But later the admitted amounts may be lower. Panic happens, when there is a big notice and there are investors involved. So do you think much caution should be exercised when such notices are issued? Because the message is sent to the investors and the larger community. The vendors also get panicked of the company, that the company is in a soup. It plays in the media for days on end. It is shared over mobile. So it's panic spreads. What do you have to say in your experience about these issues?
Chief Justice John Marshall of the United States Supreme Court had said, "The power to tax involves the power to destroy." Now, that is a very powerful thing in hand. It is really a WMD, the weapon of mass destruction, as is happening in these cases. When the government or any officer is going to use such a power, they have to be aware of the fact that it can destroy. It can destroy individuals, it can destroy companies, it can destroy the lives of many, many people. And therefore, there has to be some circumspection, some thinking about this. When we have, for the gaming industry, when they have sent notices like this, and they have related them back to 1st July 2017, from when GST was introduced, then I would say that why did they not think about it in 2017 itself? Why is the government raising these notices now? Were they negligent? They have definitely taken a different stand. They've tried to foist on industry a huge demand, which can cripple an industry. And these events scar people. We see it happen even if a person receives a notice for a small sum of money. It disturbs him. When companies receive notices for big sums of money, then it can really finish them completely and take away their power or their desire to do business in this way. That's not good for the economy. That's one of the very bad things that has happened over a period of time, that government agencies have used or misused their power in this way. They should think about it carefully. They should take legal opinions and only then allow it to be tested in the courts of law after a decision taken by the highest authorities.
Thanks for that comment. I'll go to Mr. S. Ravi from Ravi Rajan and Company. Sir, two things I want to know from you. There have been instances when there is a tax dispute with the government and the company leaves the country because they realize they can't do business in the jurisdiction. So, taxing is essential, but how to tax in a way that there is no hysteria that this company has been issued a 20,000 crore notice, it's all over the papers, there is panic in the company, employees are in panic, vendors are in panic, later the figure may be lesser. How to go around this as our economy is growing? Because anything that happens in Delhi today is discussed in New York or London or wherever the investors are putting in money from. It could be Singapore also. But money in an era of global capital, these things send shockwaves across. India is no more delinked with the external countries with so much of investment coming in.
So, first of all, this is a systemic issue actually.
Okay.
Issuing notices randomly on some basis without having a consultation. There can be many mechanisms of doing this. You can have a faceless interaction with the client, understand their viewpoint before you issue a notice. If, of course, it's all genuine. And if there is something, it's a fraud, no excuses. But if there is an interpretation issue, why can't we hold a pre-consultation with them before issuing the notice? That this is our viewpoint, what is your viewpoint? So that we can come to the right decision. If somebody has evaded tax, we should get a notice. But the point is there a fair mechanism of giving an opportunity to the other person without actually creating havoc in their lives? For example, if you just issue notices on an arbitrary basis, what happens? The shareholders get affected. The auditors, like all of us, have to report it immediately. And then we have to start providing for it because the litigations are long. So everybody is in a bind. All stakeholders get into a problem for no reason. And the company will have its own interpretation that this tax is not payable. So why can't we hold a systemic issue where we can address this through pre-consultation? Second, the notices should be done through a process. For example, taking a legal opinion. Having over a particular quantum of money, there should be a legal opinion by a government council if required. And all that should be there, and there should be no individual powers to issue notices. It should be a collective committee or something, so that everybody is accountable there. Because what happens after you issue a notice, everybody holds on to their ground that they are right. And then for them also, from the officer's viewpoint also, they become accountable for the notice, because if their settlement happens on a lesser amount, they become accountable at some point of time, because this does not convert into recovery. So really, it's a big issue. It's a systemic issue which needs to be addressed. And I think we should look at the SOPs of issuing notices. That's the primary thing that I would advise.
Okay, point well taken. I'll go to Rakesh Nangia from Nangia Anderson. So, two things I want to know from you. Economy growing by about $2 trillion in the next 4-5 years, global capital coming in, and then the tax department functioning in the current way. Do you think this will lead to some friction in the coming years if there is not some change that is, or what suggestion would you like to give on this?
Let me tell you, earlier, if you see, tax was a very, very important component. The investment used to fly. Now this is moving in a different format. The economy is getting mature, right? The laws are becoming transparent. Laws are becoming easier, but strict wherever strictness is required. This is a global phenomenon. The law will be strict. It can't be an easy, also where it tends to get misused. So with the growing economy, basically, the factor to come in the country becomes more of the economic reasons rather than the tax as a reason. But yes, as an investor, you want a tax certainty. You want an ideal rate of taxation. And you want to be competitive in taxes, where you see compared to other same range of countries worldwide is there. So tax plays as a catalyst to decide, basically one of the catalysts, but not the dominant factor whether I need to come to that country or not. Because globally, you see taxes may have a problem everywhere in the world. But we see where Indian tax system is going, actually. Let's put it like this thing. Yes, it's definitely becoming better day by day. I can tell you that. You particularly see, as I mentioned, the threshold, exemptions, direct tax, indirect taxes, faceless, everything is moving in that direction to make it easy to administer, bring it transparency. And what could be the better proof of pudding is see the collection going up higher. This year, like you got a figure yesterday for direct tax at least, the government is going to achieve the budget and going to cross a budget of 18.5 lakhs crore net tax collection. So these are buoyant figure. Even you see the GST touching 1,70,000 crores per month is becoming a good, comparatively a growth figure, positive growth figure. So as the economy grows, tax collection will play a role, government, and I can tell you one thing, tax is never going to go away actually. we'll always have some other complaints all the time. We'll have a complaints in terms of expectation from the stakeholders will be high at times, which may not necessarily always be met by the government. So I can tell you one thing, the tax collection will continue to go high. The base will continue to become bigger and larger as it becomes more and more online, as the business grows, as the GDP grows.
Okay, point very well taken. From the administrative point of view, Mr. Harish, I want to know from you that when the government puts pressure for collections, is that the time when these big number notices are sent out to show that the department is acting? Many times, yielding not much except for litigation or endless litigation. What really happens? Because the business community and the businessmen would like to know what really, because there is a lull and suddenly you see in every area there have been notices. Recently there was news that even the puja doing pandits are getting notices for GST. People have been issued notices for 50 lakhs to 2 crores. So there is a sudden pressure that we see that is pervading. Is it the pressure to recover or tax more or meet the target that leads to this?
Well, tax payment is an ongoing process. In the case of GST, it's every month. In the case of income tax, it is on the basis of TDS and advance tax, which is in June, September, December, and March of every year, and so on. And then, of course, there's greatest pressure at the end toward the end of March. But instances like these, issue of notices to a particular sector, to a particular segment of people, that is not related to any particular date. It is when an event takes place or when something comes to the notice of the government officials, say that there are pujas at the time of Diwali, therefore they will send out to the priests. But notices like gaming, someone must have just come to someone's attention that they said, let's issue these notices for the back period. But the collection process is unremitting. It goes on regularly, and one just has to live with it. Taxes are the price that we pay for civilization. We just don't want the taxes to be levied in an uncivilized manner.
Point well taken. Now we go to the suggestions part of the show. We'll take 3 suggestions that the panelists would like to give on the taxation system in India. This is an open-ended question, so it's applicable both on GST and other forms of taxation. Starting from Mr. S. Ravi from Ravi Rajan.
So the first suggestion I've already made, that is to issue notices with an SOP, where there is a committee which actually issues the notice after a particular level of recovery. So if the notice is, say, 5,000 crores, 1,000 crores, 500 crores, we should have a committee doing that. Second is that it should be backed by a strong legal opinion. And the third thing is, can't we have an interface with our industry and also the respective clients or the taxpayer, so that there is an understanding of why we are taxing them, instead of just issuing a notice and then getting their replies in a very mechanical manner, and the process of recovery is also mechanical. So the recovery will improve if there's an engagement between the taxpayer and the tax department.
Point well taken. Thank you. To Mr. Rakesh Nangia from Nangia Anderson.
I have 2 things to add here. One, you mentioned about the claims coming out of thousands of crores, basically, where every of my panelists have all mentioned about it. I believe there should be no such notice be issued till you are not sure of the demand. Even if I see what Mr. Ravi said, it is a very valid part, but in coming to the practical part is there. Just adopt, you say 20,000 crores, 50,000 crores. I think it should not be issued, and government must look into the process of SOPs to be done. Is it required to be done till you don't fructify the liability? Estimation of liability is dangerous for the whole business community is concerned. And I think very rightly mentioned by Mr. Ravi, it's the auditor responsibility, it's the stakeholder issue, it's the contingency issue, it has a cascading effect in the world, it spikes the erosion of the net worth of the company. There's a serious ecosystem damage is done, at least to that industry for the time being is concerned. So this part, I think, it should not be there. And second, I want a wish list. Government should do a study in all the cases when you actually initiated a process and you said your liability is so much, likely to be so much, and when it ends, when the litigation cycle ends, where did it happen? You issued me a demand of 1,000 crores. What happened at the end of the litigation? There should be a complete, you can say, a capturing of the data SSE-wise should take place. It will be good case study for the government also. When we issued a process, where did it end? Where did the government made money? Where the taxes are paid to the government or no taxes are paid to the government? And why I'm telling you. See, when you initiated, whether it be a commercial income tax, you have a ITAT, you have a High Court, you have a Supreme Court. There are 4 legal battles you go through. There could be legal defect. It can get fructified through 0 and 1 strike of a notice, actually. So you cannot have a process. Government must make a case study, map it as an intelligent data gathering, and see where does it lead to. And this will automatically create a checks and balances to see that why should we issue and put a threat to the industry or bad news or whatever may be the erosion in the value of the net of the company. This is one part which is very important. Second part, my last part is this: appellate process, litigation process, the timings, appearances, adjournments. I think we are hearing from our Chief Justice also these days for the adjournment, no Tariq Patari, very beautiful step. But you see the time it takes place. Why it has to be 7 years, 10 years, 15 years? Why? I think this needs an overhauling. Government sees that this government is working on it. There have been a reduction. The government is actually working on it, but that should lead to tangible visibility that this has gone down. This gives a good, even the investor worldwide, even the businesses worldwide don't like if my litigation is pending for 15 years. This may be creating more capacity. I do not know. Government is a better person to decide. But this is one of the things which is coming up. Litigation cycle needs to be brought down. And for even, I know companies that left India and the litigation are on for 15 years. How to recover the taxes from them? All those challenges there. This cycle of litigation, appellate cycle needs to be addressed, actually. This is my thought.
Thank you. Thank you for those submissions. I'll go to Mr. Harish for his comment.
There are several factors that one must bear in mind. One is that there, in fact, used to be a reward system whereby the government would give rewards to officers who were able to collect substantial amounts or engage in a search and seizure action or unearth concealed income. I think that the reverse must also apply. There should be an accountability also, that if an officer issues notices which are struck down ultimately by the courts or which are found to be destructive of the economy, when we should be moving towards ease of doing business, but we do the reverse. And if an officer or a group of officers are found to be doing differently, then they should be held accountable in different ways, in whatever ways are worked out. That's one thing. The second is that when it's a question of interpretation, not merely a question of an action on a particular person on the basis of the existing law, but when it's a question of interpretation, then the issue should not begin at the bottom. The issue should begin at the top. That if an officer feels that in this situation, I think we can send a notice, then it should go up to the central board. The central board should consider that issue, look at the interpretation, as Mr. Ravi said, take legal opinion on it. And when the board is satisfied that, yes, there is merit in it on an independent, impartial basis, looking to the interests of the country, then the central board may direct that, yes, notices of this kind can be issued. It's not that it should begin with one individual officer and then it goes amongst his friends and so on, and then the central board comes into it at a later stage. So I think that has to be done from the top down with proper backing. The third is speed. That even if it happens that 2 or 3 or 4 people, assessees, get notices of a similar kind or have to go to court for similar notices, then the central board should take notice of this and sit down. Even if they have not considered this matter before, they must review it. For instance, in the case of income tax, there have been amendments to Section 148 and 148A, and a large number of matters have gone to the high courts. Some high courts have decided one way, some high courts have decided another way. So it's not that any officer is doing wrong, but the interpretation of the provisions can be of different kinds. But the point is that when a dispute arises, then the CBDT must look into all of these, examine it in its entirety, and then come out with their own clarification. If the clarification is in favor of the assessees, then many assessees may withdraw the petitions. If it's against the assessee and if it is backed up, for instance, by legislation, then again assessees may choose to withdraw the litigation because they know that it is going to be futile. Because what we need is clarity more than anything else. It's not just the amount of the demand, but it is the uncertainty. No one wants to face that at all. I think these are the things that need to be done.
Thank you. Thank you for a very informed debate today and a good discussion. Now, from today onwards, leading on to the budget, we will take up various sectoral issues from energy to petroleum to food processing. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we would also like to discuss specific issues like, say, windfall taxation. Is there any merit in levying any such measure on a business? Because when the business is in loss, there is no helping hand. Even the banks raise interest rates when they need help. But when they make profits, there is windfall taxation. There are various concepts that we would like to take up in the next 2-3 months, and also some GST demands that many sectors have. But for today, this is it. I would like to thank S. Ravi from Ravi Rajan and Company, Rakesh Nangia, who's chairman of Nangia Anderson, Advocate Anil Harish from DM Harish and Company. You made time, you joined, and made this a very interesting debate. Thank you so very much.